Kia ora guys, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Max hosting the black jersey, and today I have a very exciting video for you all. This is the All Blacks depth chart from the last two seasons, starting from 1st January 2020 when Ian Foster took over as the head coach. I was a big fan of the 10-14 rugby back in their day, but since the 2019 World Cup, it doesn't seem that they have made a lot of content at all, and so I'm going to be modeling my depth chart in a similar way to what they had. I'm just going to use pie charts, and I'm going to get a bit more specific. Obviously, for a depth chart, the minutes played matter a lot more than the amount of starts you've had and who's come off the bench, and so on and so on. Minutes played is the most important thing for a player, because the more minutes you play in a World Cup cycle, the more experienced you are going to be at a World Cup, and the most important thing is to have experienced players at a World Cup, even if these experienced players with about 30 tests are still very young, a la Rieko, Ioane. So I'm going to show you what my opinion of an ideal depth chart looks like. So we have a first choice player with about 40% of the minutes, second choice about 30, third choice about 20, then the fourth choice player, I would like him to have about 10%. The thing is, it's all good having your first and second choice with a lot of minutes, and a third choice is real great for the future, but you do just need that extra bit of reassurance if both of these guys are to get injured. So now that we've had a look at what my ideal depth chart looks like, we're going to showcase the loose head prop situation going on in New Zealand. As you can see, Joe Moody has played the most minutes at loose head prop, and that's not at all surprising considering Ian Foster's love for Joe Moody. George Bowers coming in at seconds, Carl Tuinukuafi, Ethan de Groot and Alex Hodgman have comprised the rest of the minutes, so it's very clear cut. As you can see, there's a clear first, second and third choice, then there's a young buck coming in, getting some minutes down for the future because he's obviously got a very long career ahead of him. Big Carl, I do believe, is going to have played the most minutes by 2023. He's looked at as an impact player, hence why Bauer has played so many minutes in comparison to Tuinukuafi. We're now going to look at the hookers, and I'm very impressed with what's going on over here. As you can see, some minutes have gone into the grey colour because they have been voided by a Cars 2 Cody Taylor, who has played the most minutes. He's played 765 in total, so that's about 45.5%. You've then got Coles, Taukei'aho and Aomua, and it's very clear cut who the first, second, third and fourth choice is again, with the exception of the fact that this player is Coles. This is pretty much as close as you're going to get to an ideal depth chart. You could perhaps just give some of Taylor's minutes to Taukei'aho, then it's pretty much spot on. Cody Taylor's playing massive minutes, and Samisoni Taukei'aho has played a rather large amount for a very inexperienced player. Now with the Tighthead prop, the grey is the 9 minutes over here. Nepo Laulala's played the most minutes, and something that jumped out at me was the big surprise of Tyrell Lomax over here. I did not expect him to get this much game time over the World Cup because the World Cup cycle, because Ofa Tu'ungafasi over here has been injured for a fair bit of 2021, so I'm expecting these to kind of reverse a little bit if Tu'ungafasi can put his injury struggles behind himself. And the most concerning thing, I think, is, to be honest, that Angus Ta'avao is the fourth choice player with 11.3% of the minutes played since 2020. That's not ideal to me at all. Angus Ta'avao is 31 years old, and so although the depth chart is looking pretty good in terms of minutes played, come the World Cup, is Ta'avao still going to be in shape to be an All Black, especially with these two world-class players ahead of him? I'm not so sure, and it does concern me a bit. Right, we'll go over to the locks now. I've chosen to do the locks in a single slide because I think this is possibly just a bit more appropriate. Every single lock in the All Blacks has played minutes in both jerseys. so I thought I'd just do them kind of in one slide. Sam Whitelock, as you can see, massive minutes. 1,026 minutes in either lock 4 or 5. Brody Vitalik played a lot of minutes this year and really played catch-up. He's the second choice. Scott Barrett with 17.1%. Patrick Tuipulotu with 15.1%. Tupavai and Josh Lord then fill out the rest with 7 minutes worth of cards going into the grey. So that those minutes rather avoid. Josh Lord, I think that's real good for him in terms of his development, whereas it's quite clear-cut that if we're going to take 5 locks to the World Cup, this is going to be the pecking order of how things are going to go. Vai will definitely be lucky to get to the World Cup considering what's going on over here. It's very clear-cut who's where in the pecking order, and I'm not expecting anything with the locks to change prior to 2023. We're now going to move over to the blind side, which is quite interesting. Ioane, Steve Hansen would never give him a cap, and Ioane did not get capped until last year, and he's just since taken off. He's gone to 765 minutes, so 45.5%. Shannon Frizzell has since been eclipsed by Ioane. Shannon Frizzell had played over 260 minutes by the end of last year, and now he's gone way down the pecking order. Ethan Blackadder has played minutes in both 7 and 6, and the amount of minutes he's played in the 6 jersey is 229. Luke Jacobson's played a little, and Ardie Savea has had 80 minutes worth of game time moving into the 6 jersey to make room for other players who have not started and have come off the bench. As you can see though, this is kind of worrying that 64 minutes worth of grey time for this jersey has gone into the grey zone. This has come as a result of Ioane being subbed off when Tu'ungafasi received a red card against Australia, and Blackadder being taken off for Coles against Ireland when Taylor got a yellow card. Over to Openside, it's very clear cut, and this is possibly one of the best looking depth charts as well. Sam Cane has played a lot of minutes, 654, especially considering he was injured. Fozzie wants him to be captain for the long term, so he's given Papali'i all the minutes he can. Now was the time to give Papali'i game time, and he's got a lot of it, 563 minutes. As I said, Ethan Blackadder is the third choice player for both 6 and 7, and Ardie Savea's also spent a bit of game time over here. Cullen Grace, it's very sad for him that his debut only lasted 3 minutes and he hasn't played again since, but it is good that it's not affecting the depth chart too much in terms of building experience for Cullen Grace. Over to the number 8 jersey, Ardie Savea has played massive minutes here as well. Ardie Savea has played a total of more than 1,100 minutes since 2020. As you can see, he's played close to 50% on the dot of the minutes at number 8. Hoskins Satutu comes in with 462 minutes as a second choice. Luke Jacobson is the third choice. We then have a couple players who have just come in here and there off the bench. Ioane and Scott Barrett have covered some minutes at 8, and then 10 minutes, which was a yellow card to Savea, has gone grey. We're then going over to the halfback, and this is another really good looking depth chart when you're looking at things. The worry is for me though, is that TJ Perenara's minutes are going to go grey, and so this is going to be roughly like a fifth of the chart or something come 2023. He's played nearly as many minutes as Aaron Smith. Smith's played 636. Perenara's played 556. So this is a bit of a concern for me. Same with Brad Weber. He's reached his 30s now, and he's played 17.5% of the minutes. Finlay Christie, as you can see, comes in as the fourth choice. It's a good looking chart. I'm just very concerned it's not going to look very good in 2 years' time when we're about to be at a World Cup. We're then going to the first 5, and yeah, it's not pretty at all, guys. Mo'unga's played 55.1% of the minutes at 10, 925%. He makes up a massive amount of this pie. Then Jordie Barrett comes in with 38% of the minutes to be the second choice, and D-Mac has played 116 minutes, so there's only 3 players here, and only one of them is a genuine first 5 option. That's another very concerning depth chart appearance to me. Mo'unga had about this percent of the minutes in 2019, and we know how that worked. Yes, he was the best player, but he simply just didn't have enough experience because it was looking somewhat like this, and that's why England were able to really rattle him in the first half of that semi-final playoff. We then come to the left wing. As you can see, there's a lot of players that have played at left wing, including Rieko, Ioane, who has played the most minutes of any All Black in this World Cup cycle. I was very surprised to see George Bridge playing 39.8% of the minutes as well. He's played a massive amount compared to what I thought he was going to. Caleb Clarke didn't really get much of a chance to shine this year because he chose to go to the Olympics, so he's only played 18% of the minutes. Savea has played 221 minutes as well. Then a couple of other guys have come on to play left wing off the bench. Will Jordan, D-Mac, Braden Ennor, Quinn Tupaia. The minutes at left wing aren't really going to matter too much in the grand scheme of things because we all know what the outside backs depth chart gets like in New Zealand. It gets just all over the place. Now, into the second 5 jersey, 95 minutes, so 5.7%, have gone grey. This is because of a yellow card to David Havili, and Ngani Laumapi has moved to France, so his 85 minutes have gone grey. They are no longer useful in the depth chart. Havili has played the most minutes at 12. He's really come in and stabilised the jersey, as I've said many times. 710 minutes, so 42.3%. You've then got a lot of players coming in here. This is a very erratic jersey, and the depth chart for it really did not look good at the end of 2020. By that stage, Jack Goodhue had played the most minutes in the jersey, and as you can see, he has now played the third to most. Quinn Tupaia has now played more minutes than Jack Goodhue. I don't see Goodhue coming back for that reason. Anton Lienert-Brown, as you can see, has only played 71 minutes in the jersey, so it's okay if Lienert-Brown does play second 5 in the World Cup, as he has played the most at 13. As you can see, Barrett, McKenzie, Umaga Jensen and Jordan have also spent a wee bit of time at second 5 off the bench. This jersey's only got 2 genuine operators, so just stick with these guys. That's the only way I see things going forward. With the outside centre jersey, the 13, as I said, Lienert-Brown's played the most, 775 minutes, and Rieko Ioane's only slightly behind him, so add up his minutes and you can see what it's going to look like. He's played 43.9% of these. Braden Ennor's now played 8.2%, so as a third choice, he probably needs a little bit more. But if Peter Umaga Jensen's going to get a recall, you don't really want Ennor to play too much more. I'm expecting Peter Umaga Jensen to overtake Ennor next year. And as you can see, Quinn Tupaia's played 22 minutes in this jersey off the bench against Italy, I believe it was. We now have right wing. Will Jordan has played a massive amount of minutes. I expect him to still be leading the chart come 2023. Savea is obviously the second choice with 486 minutes, so 28.9%. Jordie Barrett's played a significant chunk of the minutes at right wing. Rieko Ioane's played 3.4%. D-Mac 2.1%. George Bridge moved to the right wing against Australia to make way for Caleb Clarke on debut. And as you can see, somebody in there got a yellow card, so 0.6%, just 10 minutes have gone grey. Don't really worry too much about the right wing chart. We all know it's going to look very different come 2023, apart from Jordan. Now to fullback. Fullback looks possibly as good as you're going to get with only 3 players. If a 4th choice player comes in, it's going to look pretty much spot on. Jordie Barrett's the leading player at fullback with 760 minutes. He was obviously the best All Black of this year, so I don't see anything changing rather. Damian McKenzie, I'm worried about that though. That could potentially go grey as well, considering what the outside back depth is like in this country. Jordie Barrett played all 305 of his minutes of fullback in 2020. I kind of wanted to put that in the grey, but I'm like, nah. As you can see, Havili and Mo'unga have played a few minutes there off the bench, and Jordie Barrett's 20-minute red card takes up 1.2% of the minutes. So what have we learned from this depth chart? We've learned that perhaps the front row is in the best position going forward. Those are the jerseys where it's the most clear cut so far. We've learned that basically any of the locks can come on in and start. We've got a raft of experienced players. We've learned that we really need a third choice and second choice first five. These two are not 10s and they're taking up a worrying percentage of the minutes while Mo'unga's playing massive minutes. We've learned not to worry about the left wing and right wing, whereas the number 12 jersey, you've got to stick with Havili there to stabilise it. It's very erratic around here, whereas Quincy Paya needs to be kept on as the second choice. And most importantly, guys, this is the end of the video, so thank you so much for coming along to watching this. Please subscribe, like the video, make a comment about what you think of the minutes played by whatever player you're really in love with, and also tell me what you think of Foster's job done with this. I think that even though he's not picking the right players, he's at least doing the right thing with this depth chart. So even if the players aren't the best, he's at least getting them the right amount of experience, whereas Steve Hansen picked far too many players between 2016 and 2019. So at least there is something the current coaching setup are getting right. Let me know your thoughts on everything else that I covered in the video, and I will talk to you again later. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. It's much appreciated.